When I was 24, I took a night security job at a small community college in Oregon. It seemed easy: patrol the buildings, log anything odd, and stop trespassers. The only building open past 10 p.m. was the main hall, housing the servers and records office, and I worked there alone. On my fifth night, around 2:46 a.m., the fire alarm suddenly blared. I was alone and checked the alarm panel. It showed room B207 on the second floor, a disused classroom. The door was shut, lights flickering inside. I entered cautiously and found it empty, except for a tipped-over chair in the back. I reported it as a false alarm and reset the system. The next night, no alarm, but at 3 a.m., I found B207's door wide open, despite its hydraulic hinge, which should have closed it. Inside, 2 chairs were oddly arranged, facing the door, as if waiting for someone. I locked it, feeling the air unusually heavy. On night 3, the alarm went off again at 2:43 a.m. This time the door was swinging gently, like someone had just walked through. I checked the hallway camera, but the footage was blacked out, only that section. Dispatch told me it was a heat alarm, not smoke. Inside, the room was freezing, but one desk had 4 distinct burn marks in the shape of a handprint. I called the police. They searched, but found no one. One officer remarked it smelled like burnt copper and asked if the room had once been used for welding. It had, years ago. The next day, I pulled the camera logs myself. At exactly 2:42:19 a.m., 1 second before the glitch, a figure stepped into the hallway, blurry, no face, wearing what looked like a welding suit, carrying a metal cylinder. The video corrupted the moment it appeared. The IT guy confirmed it wasn't a power surge. Someone had tampered with the footage from inside the system, meaning they had access. My boss later told me a welding instructor had been fired 2 years ago for misconduct and disappeared afterward. He'd never returned his keys, and the locks were never changed. A week later, I transferred to another site. Before I left, I asked maintenance if B207 had been sealed. They said yes, but one janitor said he still found the door open some mornings. And once, he found a pair of burnt gloves melted into the floor, still warm to the touch. I worked night shifts at a small insurance firm in Ohio, where the company kept someone on site overnight to answer rare, late-night client calls from other time zones. Most nights were quiet, just me, vending machine coffee, and the hum of old computers. I enjoyed the solitude at first, until one night, around 2:30 a.m., I got up to stretch and saw something strange on Nicole's desk. A yellow sticky note that read, "Don't stay late. He watches from the copy room." My skin prickled. Nicole never worked nights. She always left by 4 p.m. I texted her asking if it was a joke, but got no response. I laughed it off and tossed the note. About an hour later, I felt that creeping sensation, like someone was behind me. I turned. No one. Then I looked at the security monitors. One showed the copy room, and its light was now on. I hadn't turned it on, and I was alone. I stared for a while, no movement, then walked over slowly, phone in hand. I opened the door, empty. But the air smelled off, sweat and old cologne. I returned to my desk, unsettled. That's when I noticed another sticky note, this time on my monitor. It read, "Don't check the stalls." I spun around in my chair, heart pounding. No one had passed me. How did it get there? I swept the entire office, under desks, in closets, and finally the restrooms. Everything seemed normal until I saw one men's stall, with the door gently shut, not locked. I tapped. No reply. Against better judgment, I nudged the door open. Inside hung a dark hoodie on the back of the stall door. No person, just that. But the stall stank. Sweat, cheap deodorant, something metallic. I backed out and checked the security feed again. No signs of movement. It was eerily still. I called the building manager. He told me that the building had a squatter last winter, someone who'd broken in through a rear service hatch and lived in the crawl space for nearly a week before being caught. I asked where that hatch was. He said just behind the copy room. That was my last night. Police searched the next day and confirmed someone had recently been in the crawl space. Food wrappers, used tissues, footprints in the dust, and several more sticky notes, some stuck to the pipes. One of them said, "He doesn't like being seen." Sometimes I still wonder if he ever truly left, or if someone else took the night shift after me and noticed that same quiet, flickering light in the copy room. I was working a solo night shift at a small-town car dealership in Nebraska, covering overnight hours for a new 24-hour key drop-off service. My job was simple: monitor the lot, answer any late-night calls, and keep an eye on the 16 live security camera feeds. Most cameras pointed outside at the parked cars, but a few were inside. One in the hallway, one in the break room, and one facing the front counter where I usually sat. Around 2:18 a.m., while half awake flipping through the camera feeds, I saw a man standing behind the service desk, behind me, but I was at the desk, alone. I clicked to the live feed and saw him again, tall, hoodie up, face down, standing directly behind me. I whipped around in my chair, knocking over my coffee. No one was there. I sprinted through the entire building, checking every room and closet, empty. I returned to the monitor and rewound the footage, but the image of the man was gone. The recording had glitched, replaced with a frozen frame from earlier, just me alone, and what looked like overlaid footage of a customer from a week ago. I tried to dismiss it as a technical error. But at 3:11 a.m., I heard a knock, not on the front door, but on the back wall, where only the garage and a fenced-in repair lot were. I checked the exterior cameras. Nothing. Another knock came, louder, followed by the unmistakable sound of breathing coming from behind me, in the break room. I quickly switched to the break room camera. The same hooded man was now standing there, staring directly into the camera. I bolted to the break room, heart racing. Again, nothing. But the microwave door was open, and the clock on it was reset to 000, like someone had unplugged it. I hadn't touched it. That's when I called the cops. They arrived about 12 minutes later, combed through the building, and found no signs of forced entry. No alarms tripped, no doors disturbed. But in the garage, behind a stack of tires, they discovered something unsettling: a rolled-up sleeping bag, a crushed soda can, and an old flip phone. It had no SIM card, just one saved photo. The photo was a still image from one of our security cameras, me, sitting at the service desk, as seen from behind. It was taken from inside the building. The officers asked if I'd seen anyone come or go. I hadn't. They said there was no way in or out without triggering sensors, and no logical way someone could have gotten close enough to take that picture. That's when they inspected the walls and found the likely answer: a crawl space that ran behind the garage and wrapped around the building, unmonitored by cameras. They sealed it off the next morning, but the image on the phone still haunts me, not just because someone took it while I worked, but because in the bottom corner of the frame, reflected in my coffee cup, there was a face, not mine, someone else, smiling. I quit the next day. Since then, I occasionally get calls from the dealership. No voice, just a dead line, static, and breathing.